What you can do at your level. The next day at school, I walk into the classroom feeling excited. I can't wait to share my experience with everyone. I raise my hand and wait for my teacher to call on me. When she does, I smile and say, "Yesterday, I had a really interesting time at work." Everyone looks at me with curiosity. I continue. "My boss is a nice person, but sometimes he talks very fast. I try to keep up, but it can be hard." Then, I met two ladies who didn't speak English very well. One lady tried to order a coffee, but she mixed up the words. She looked worried, and I wanted to help. So, I stepped in and told the barista what she wanted. It felt good to help her. The class listens closely, and I feel proud. It's nice to see my classmates nodding and smiling. I know that these moments help me learn, and they are becoming part of my journey in England. Our teacher smiles and says, "Great. It sounds like your boss is a very clever young lady." It's true. You can communicate with everybody no matter how good they are at English. Even people who speak English very well can have a nice chat with someone just starting their journey. It's all about trying and not being afraid to make mistakes. She walks around the room and looks at each of us. I feel excited as she continues. Today, we are going to talk about different levels of English. Each level has its own goals. For example, beginners focus on simple words and phrases. They learn how to introduce themselves and ask basic questions. As you move up, you start to understand more complex ideas. You learn how to express your feelings and opinions too. I listen closely as she explains. I can feel my heart racing with interest. It's amazing to think about how far I can go with my English skills. I want to be able to talk to anyone, anywhere. Our teacher says we will have activities to practice these skills. I can't wait to join in and see how much I can learn. It feels like each day is a step closer to becoming better at English. Our teacher begins. Let's start with the lowest level, which is about 1,000 words. At this level, students can talk about simple things in everyday life. It's like when you meet someone at the store and you just want to say hi. Your speaking is very limited, but it's still possible to have a little chat with people who want to talk with you. Your sentences are short, just like this. They usually have around 4 words. Think about it. If the other person speaks in short sentences too, you can actually have a basic conversation. I remember when I was at this level, it felt both exciting and scary. I would go to the market, and when someone asked me something, I would answer in short sentences. It was a big step. I would say things like, "I want apples," or "Where is bread?" It felt great to be understood, even if it was just for a moment. I learned to pay attention to what others were saying. If they kept their sentences short, I could keep up better. It was like a little game. As I practiced more, I started to feel more confident. I wanted to learn how to say more, to share my thoughts and ideas. It made me think about the next level. What would it be like to know 2,000 words? I was curious, and that curiosity pushed me to keep trying. Every day I would practice speaking with my friends and even with my boss. Each short conversation helped me improve. I wanted to keep going, to reach the next level where I could say even more. Our teacher continues. When students move to a higher level, like 2,000 words, conversations become easier, and the sentences get longer. This is the level that most of you in this class are at right now. I remember when I first got to this level, I felt like I was unlocking a door to a new world of communication. At this point, you should be able to speak about many things in your life. You can talk about your family, your hobbies, your job, and even your travels. I think back to the first time I shared a story about my family with a friend. It felt so good to describe my parents and my brother. I talked about how my brother loves playing soccer and how my dad cooks the best pasta. I could see my friend nodding along, and that made me feel proud. We started having longer chats, and I loved it. But sometimes I would find a tricky moment. If someone brought up a deeper topic, like politics or culture, I felt a bit lost. I wanted to say more, but my words didn't always come out right. It was a little frustrating. I realized that while I could talk about everyday things, going into deeper conversations needed more practice. Still, I enjoyed this level because it was usually enough for everyday use of English. I could order food at restaurants, ask for directions, or even have a nice chat with a neighbor. Each day was an adventure. Every time I spoke, I learned something new. I found that every little conversation helped me grow. I couldn't wait to reach the next level and learn even more. Our teacher smiles and says, if you want to have deeper conversations on many topics, it is good to know 3,000 words. I remember when I first learned this. At that time, I was excited and a bit nervous. Your goal as a student of English who wants to speak well should be to learn these 3,000 words. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's very possible. When I started my journey, I didn't know how to even begin. I began to make flashcards with new words, writing them down one by one. Each time I learned a new word, I felt a little more confident. I would carry these flashcards everywhere I went. When I had a few spare moments, I would take them out and practice. I'd say the words out loud, feeling the sounds of English flow from my mouth. It was challenging, but with each word, I felt like I was unlocking a new door in a hallway filled with opportunities. Of course, you can learn more than 3,000 words. In fact, many people do. The more words you know, the easier it will be for you to communicate in English. I remember meeting a man from Australia at a party. He spoke so smoothly, he had a big vocabulary. He used words I had never heard before. I wanted to ask him so many questions, but I hesitated at first. I realized then how amazing it was to have a rich vocabulary and how it could connect you with others. But 3,000 words is usually enough to talk about almost everything. With this number, you can discuss your day, your dreams, and even your favorite movies. I think back to my first real conversation in English. I spoke to a woman at the coffee shop. I told her about my plans to travel, where I wanted to go, and what I hoped to see. She asked me about my favorite places, and we started to share stories about our adventures. We chatted about food and travel for over half an hour. It felt so great. In that moment, I realized how important those words were. They were like keys that opened doors to new conversations and friendships. Every new word I learned was a step forward. I felt like I was climbing a mountain, each word bringing me closer to the top. The feeling of reaching that point, where I could express myself more freely, was incredible. So, my friends, if you focus on learning those 3,000 words, you will be ready for exciting conversations in English. Just think about all the topics you can discuss. It could be anything from your favorite books to your daily routines, or even your thoughts on the latest movies. And trust me, it will be worth it. Learning a language opens up a world of possibilities, and with each word, you will feel more at home in that world. I remember that day at school when we talked about language levels. I raised my hand and said, "I think the two ladies at your cafe knew about 1,000 words." When I saw them, I thought about how they spoke. They seemed friendly but struggled a little. Your boss went to their level and had a basic conversation with them. I could picture it clearly in my mind. The cafe was small but cozy, with a warm atmosphere. I had been sitting there sipping my tea when I noticed the two ladies. They were at a table near the window looking at the menu. I could see the confusion on their faces. They glanced at each other, and I could tell they were trying to find the right words. It was a simple cafe, but the menu had some tricky items. Then your boss walked over with a big smile. She spoke slowly and clearly, using short sentences. "Would you like some tea?" she asked, and I watched as the ladies nodded, still a bit unsure. Your boss didn't rush them. She gave them time to think. That made it easier for the ladies. I admired how patient she was. It was like she understood that speaking English could be challenging for them. As they talked, I could hear bits of their conversation. The ladies responded with short sentences too, maybe 4 or 5 words at a time. I could see the spark in their eyes as they began to relax. It was amazing to watch. I thought about how much I wanted to be able to speak like that. I wanted to help others feel comfortable too. Your boss showed them the menu and pointed to some of the items. "This is a sandwich. This is a salad," she explained. It was simple, but it worked. They were able to order food and drinks with no problems. I felt a warm feeling in my heart, seeing how communication could bring people together. The cafe was more than just a place to eat. It was a bridge between different cultures. Later, as I left the cafe, I thought about what I had just witnessed. Those ladies were learning and trying their best. Just like me. I felt inspired. If they could have a conversation in English, then so could I. It made me realize that learning a language is a journey, and everyone starts somewhere. I could see that even a basic level of English could create connections and make people feel welcome. I wanted to be part of that, to have my own conversations like the ladies had. I remember that day at school when we talked about language levels. I raised my hand and said, "I think the two ladies at your cafe knew about 1,000 words. When I saw them, I thought about how they spoke. They seemed friendly but struggled a little. Your boss went to their level and had a basic conversation with them." I could picture it clearly in my mind. The cafe was small but cozy, with a warm atmosphere. I had been sitting there, sipping my tea, when I noticed the two ladies. They were at a table near the window, looking at the menu. I could see the confusion on their faces. They glanced at each other, and I could tell they were trying to find the right words. It was a simple cafe, but the menu had some tricky items. Then your boss walked over with a big smile. She spoke slowly and clearly, using short sentences. "Would you like some tea?" she asked. And I watched as the ladies nodded, still a bit unsure. Your boss didn't rush them. She gave them time to think. That made it easier for the ladies. I admired how patient she was. It was like she understood that speaking English could be challenging for them. As they talked, I could hear bits of their conversation. The ladies responded with short sentences too, maybe 4 or 5 words at a time. I could see the spark in their eyes as they began to relax. It was amazing to watch. I thought about how much I wanted to be able to speak like that. I wanted to help others feel comfortable too. Your boss showed them the menu and pointed to some of the items. "This is a sandwich, this is a salad," she explained. It was simple, But it worked. They were able to order food and drinks with no problems. I felt a warm feeling in my heart, seeing how communication could bring people together. The cafe was more than just a place to eat. It was a bridge between different cultures. Later, as I left the cafe, I thought about what I had just witnessed. Those ladies were learning and trying their best, just like me. I felt inspired. If they could have a conversation in English, then so could I. It made me realize that learning a language is a journey, and everyone starts somewhere. I could see that even a basic level of English could create connections and make people feel welcome. I wanted to be part of that, to have my own conversations like the ladies had. After my school, I go to my job at the cafe. I always feel a mix of excitement and nervousness when I see customers come in. Today, something special happens. The two ladies I saw before walk into the cafe again. They are smiling, and I can see they are happy to be back. But this time, they are not alone. They also bring two of their friends with them, and my heart races a little. I want to make a good impression. As I approach their table, I remind myself to stay calm. It's my turn to serve them, and I want to do my best. I greet them with a smile and say, "Hello, how are you today?" The ladies look at me, and I can see they are trying to understand. So I speak to them in simple, short sentences, just like I practiced. "Do you want tea or coffee?" I ask. To my surprise, they understand me perfectly. They nod their heads and start pointing to the menu. I feel a rush of happiness, and I can see them looking at each other for help. One of the ladies says, "Tea, please," and I repeat, "1 tea." I write it down and feel proud of myself. The other lady joins in and says, "I want coffee." I smile and say, "1 coffee." I can see their friends watching, and they seem a bit shy. I want to make everyone feel included, so I ask them too. "What do you want to drink?" They look surprised but happy that I'm talking to them. It's nice to see their smiles. The conversation flows in this simple way. They tell me about their day, and I share a little about mine too. "I like working here," I say. "The cafe is nice." They smile and nod. I can see they are understanding me. It makes me feel great inside. This moment is more than just serving drinks. It's about connection and learning together. As I bring their drinks to the table, I notice the ladies are relaxing. They start chatting among themselves, and their friends are joining in too. I feel like I'm part of something special. It's amazing how a few simple words can build a bridge between us. I think about how far I've come since I started learning English. I realize that every small step is important in this journey. Today is a good day at the cafe, and I can't wait to see what happens next. As I continue talking to the two ladies at the cafe, they share more about themselves. They tell me with big smiles, "We are tourists from Japan." Their excitement is contagious, and I can feel my own smile getting bigger. I think about how brave they are to travel so far from home. They say they have been in England for a few days now. I ask them what they think about the city. They look at each other and then back at me, and one of them says, "It is beautiful here. We love the parks and the buildings." I nod, happy to hear that. I feel a connection with them. They tell me they enjoy our cafe so much because people understand them here. "It is nice to talk," one lady adds. I can see that they appreciate being able to communicate, even if it is just in simple sentences. I remember how hard it was for me to talk to people when I first came here. It makes me glad to know they feel welcome. They say they have visited some famous places, like the Tower of London and Buckingham Palace. The people are friendly, another lady adds, but sometimes it is hard to speak. I can relate to that feeling. I remember my own struggles with English. It feels nice to hear that they also have challenges. It makes me realize that learning a new language is something we all experience, no matter where we come from. I want to help them feel even more at home, so I ask, "What do you like to eat?" They think for a moment. "We want to try something English," one of them says. I get excited because I love sharing our food culture. I tell them about the traditional English breakfast, fish and chips, and scones with clotted cream. They listen carefully, nodding their heads. I can see their eyes light up as I describe the food. "Yes, we want to try that," they say eagerly. It feels great to share this part of my world with them. I write down their orders, making sure to include everything they want to taste. As I prepare their food, I think about how amazing it is to connect with people from different countries. Even with language differences, we can find common ground through food, stories, and smiles. When I bring their food to the table, I feel a sense of pride. They look so happy, and it warms my heart. We continue to chat, and I enjoy every moment. Their laughter fills the cafe, and I can't help but join in. I realize that my journey in England is not just about learning English. It's also about meeting wonderful people, sharing experiences, and growing together. Each conversation helps me improve, and every smile brightens my day.